If your views have been quietly bleeding over the last few days and even weeks, and you're genuinely trying to figure out why, I want you to pay very close attention for the next few minutes, because YouTube just added something that really tells you a lot about where this platform is heading, and more importantly, where your energy needs to go if you want to build something that lasts. Now, on May 27th, like 2 days ago, at least at the time I'm recording this, YouTube started rolling out a new feature called your custom feed. And here's exactly how it works, because I want to be precise before I give you my take on what it means. So now you get what's called a new chip at the top of your home tab. You can tap into it and you could type in plain English what you want to see. Something like, hey, help me think about business differently. Or you could type in something like, help me find something to unwind with after work. And now YouTube will build you a personalized feed around that prompt. No passive scrolling, no algorithm doing the guessing. You tell it what you want, and it now delivers. You can pin it, you can refresh it, and edit it whenever you want. And this feed automatically, if never touched, resets every 30 days. To use it, you have to be signed in, you have to be in the US, and you have to have both watch history and search history enabled. Make sure you write that last part down, because it really does matter strategically. Now, this is confirmed across YouTube's own support documentation and reporting from The Verge, from PC Mag, from Thurrott, and 9to5 Google. I'll link all the resources below if you guys want to check them out. But the feature is real. I did a lot of research to make sure that everything I say here is validated and actually happening. And it works the way that I just described. Now, I've seen some coverage calling this search with just extra steps. One publication basically just said it's a solution to a problem that doesn't really exist. And that's partially fair. I mean, search already lets you find anything. So what's actually different here? Well, I'll tell you what I think is different. And I want to be really upfront. The feature description I just gave you is confirmed reporting, but what comes next is my interpretation. So I'll be very clear about which is which, because that's how you should treat any creator talking about platform updates. Never take everything somebody says at face value, because a lot of times people are just trying to get views, and a lot of times people are really fear mongering. So I want to make sure I distinct the two paths for you. Now, here is my read or my perspective. This is the first time that YouTube's ever built a dedicated, accessible tool for viewers to express intent before they start watching. Not intent that they reveal passively through what they've already clicked and watched. This is intent they declare upfront in plain language before the algorithm has even had a chance to guess. And intent, in my experience, is everything. Think about the difference between a viewer who has passively served your video because the algorithm decided to push it, versus a viewer who sat down, typed in what they wanted, and your content showed up in that feed because it matched what they asked for. Which viewer do you think subscribes? Which viewer do you think buys? Which one do you think is more likely to come back? It's not even close. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the algorithm is dead. It's not, okay? YouTube's own documentation makes very clear that watch history and search history still power how that feed gets built. The recommendation engine is still underneath all of this. What's changed is that the viewer now has a direct way to just steer the ship. Now, here's why this matters as a strategic signal for all of us. YouTube has been making consistent moves in the direction of understanding what viewers actually want, not just what they passively consumed. For example, this custom feed is part of that pattern. Whether it turns into a dramatic shift in the future or just a useful feature for a subset of users, I genuinely don't know yet. Nobody does. The rollout just started, but the direction is clear. Viewers who know what they want are getting better tools to find it. And that has implications for what kind of content is going to win going forward. So let me break it down the way that I think about it. I like to break it down in two different things. First, traffic. See, traffic is the algorithm pushing your video in front of someone who wasn't looking for you. Then we have the second part, which is attention. And attention is a specific human seeking out your specific perspective because they already know that they want it. For years, those two things were kind of blurred together because the only route to attention was winning the traffic game first. You had to get pushed before you could get chosen. What a tool like this starts to do is it starts to separate them. Traffic and attention kind of become two separate things. Because here's the whole mechanic underneath the surface. The new feature, the custom feed, It leans on watch history. That means the creators a viewer has already chosen to watch on purpose repeatedly have a structural advantage when that feed gets populated. The viewer who types in a specific prompt looking for something is already a more intentional viewer than someone who just opened up YouTube and just started scrolling and whatever came up they clicked on when it grabbed their interest. And if you have already built a behavioral imprint in their history, you show up in their intent-driven world. If you haven't, if your content exists only as a generic delivery mechanism for information that anyone can find anywhere, I mean, my honest opinion is that this environment gets harder for you if that's the case. Not because some dramatic punishment is happening across the algorithm, but because an intentional viewer is unlikely to type a generic channel into existence. Now, here's the uncomfortable part, and I want to say this very carefully because I've seen a lot of overheated takes about the death of the algorithm. Information is not the competitive advantage that it used to be. I'm not saying it's worthless, but any AI can generate a competent explainer on almost any topic within seconds. The pure what happened and here's how X, Y, and Z works kind of format is increasingly becoming more and more commoditized. And that was even true before this update. What this update does is just add a layer that makes it more visible. So when a viewer sits down and continuously builds a feed around what they want, they're not going to type in explain YouTube's new feature. They're going to be typing in the feeling that they're chasing, the perspective that they trust, the specific intersections of ideas that matters to them most. Your job now, and this is the part that's purely my take, by the way, is to own that intersection and to do it so completely that you become the default answer in a specific person's head in a specific niche. In fact, let me talk numbers for a second. YouTube just crossed $60 billion in revenue in 2025. I mean, BBC and Variety have both confirmed that. 2.72 billion monthly active users. And Goldman Sachs has estimated the creator economy as a whole is approaching $500 billion with a T dollars in value by the end of this decade. Those are the numbers that tell you the size of the opportunity. Here's the number that tells you why most people aren't capturing it. According to Goldman Sachs research, roughly 4% of creators globally earn more than $100,000 a year, but the vast majority earn far, far less. And in my view, based on the conversations that I have every single day inside of my community and other communities where I teach YouTube growth, the primary reason is not talent. It's that most creators are running their entire businesses on a single platform's algorithm with no owned relationship underneath it. So when the platform changes, their business changes with it. Now, I'm not going to throw specific RPM ranges at you for finance or tech channels because those numbers depend on too many variables, and I'd rather not give you a figure that I can't cleanly source. What I will tell you is that niche authority and audience intent are the two biggest levers on what you actually earn per view in terms of Google AdSense money. And what this update is doing is making both of those things matter more than ever. That's not a guess either. That's just the logical extension of what intent-based discovery does. So what do you actually do with all of this? Well, when a viewer builds their custom feed, they're not typing in channel names. As I said, they're going to be typing in feelings, desires, specific intersections of ideas that they want more of. Your job is to be the answer that shows up in their head when you go to fill in that box, when you go to fill in that prompt with two practical moves. First, get specific about who are you actually talking to? Not people interested in business, the specific person with the specific frustration at the specific moment that they'd be reaching for your content. If you can't describe that person clearly, well, that's the work that you have to do right in front of you next. Second, change what kind of value you actually deliver. Stop making videos that only answer what happened, what is this, what's the update. That's information. And information is increasingly free. I go to Claude when I want my information, not YouTube. Instead, start making videos that answer why, and here's my specific take or read on it. The reason you're watching me right now this far into this video, instead of reading one of the news articles that I will link below for you to go read, is because you want a take. It's because you don't just want news, you want a perspective. You want a point of view on what it actually means for your situation, not just the facts, the interpretation of the facts by someone whose judgment you've decided to trust. And that right there, that's the entire difference. And that's the thing that no AI will ever be able to replicate. Why, you ask? Because it's yours. Now here's where I think most people get AI completely backwards. The instinct is to use AI to crank out more generic content at faster rates. That is the worst move that you can make right now because it just floods the platform with more of what nobody typed into a prompt box to find. The actual leverage moving forward is the opposite. You need to use AI to handle the production, the research, the repurposing, the logistics, the grunt work, everything that doesn't require your specific perspective. That's what's worked really well for me. And then what's worked really well for me is taking the time that's freed up now and pouring that time into developing a take that nobody else has. Use research tools to understand what your specific audience is actually asking and feeling, so that your perspective is now aimed at a real person rather than at a content calendar. Listen, your thinking is the hard part, and your thinking is the only thing that becomes the answer someone types into a feed, especially if that's a direction we're gonna go. Okay, but here's the thing. Even if you get all of this right, even if you build a genuine perspective and start showing up in the right feeds, relying on YouTube as your only point of contact with your audience is still a structural vulnerability, and this update proves it. The rules can shift overnight. If your entire business is on the platform of YouTube, your entire business is exposed to every shift they make, and it's owned by Neil Mohan, the CEO of YouTube. Here's what I'd actually build. It's a flywheel, and the flywheel looks like this. It's having an intentional viewer find you through the platform, including through this new feature. That viewer is gonna already be your most qualified lead, because especially with this update, they will be actively seeking out your perspective. You then give them something genuinely valuable in exchange for direct access. Maybe it's an email, a community membership, something that connects you outside of the platform, otherwise known as a free lead magnet. Once they're there, you now have their email address and you own that relationship. YouTube becomes a customer acquisition channel, not your whole business. And the friction to build that infrastructure has never been lower. AI tools can help you build landing pages and write email sequences in your voice faster than ever. The barrier that used to require a developer, a designer, and a copywriter is gone. There's no excuse anymore. The creators who treat YouTube as one piece of a larger content business rather than the whole thing are structurally less exposed to any platform update, including this new algorithm update, or really feature update. That's not just my opinion, that's concentration risk math. I wanna pause here because this is exactly what I dig into. If what I just described about building that architecture makes sense, but you're sitting there going, all right, how do I actually build this for my specific channel? Well, I made that place exactly for you, because I run a completely free school community. It's called the YouTube Blueprint. And if you guys want to join, the link's going to be in the first description below. We already have over 2,000 members inside. And inside, I break down all of the frameworks that I use, the perspective work, the lead magnets, the AI workflows, all of it. And guess what? It costs nothing to join. I'd rather you build this alongside people who get it rather than trying to figure it out alone while the platform keeps evolving. All right, now let me zoom all the way out, because when you step back and look at the size of what's happening here, it's really worth sitting with for a second. YouTube is the largest attention economy ever built. They've paid out tens of billions to creators just last year alone. The platform is not in decline. The opportunity is not shrinking, but the direction of travel is just extremely clear now, meaning viewers are being given better tools to find exactly what they want faster. And the creators who win in that world are not the loudest, not the most consistent, not the ones posting the most. They're the ones who are genuinely irreplaceable to a specific group of people. Not because the algorithm declared them the winner, because a real human would actually choose to type them into existence. Here's what I believe. Information is not a moat anymore. Speed is no longer a moat either. Volume is no longer a moat. What remains is depth, your perspective, your craft, and the trust that you've built with people who actually want to hear from you specifically. That's the game. And the creators who accept that today, while most people are still trying to reverse engineer whatever changed in the home tab, are working on the right thing. So I'll leave you with this one question. If your audience opened up that custom feed right now, would they type something that brings up your channel? Or are you still building content that depends on the algorithm finding people who didn't ask for you? Now, all of this is great, but once you understand the updates and you understand how to operate on the platform, one thing that you're gonna have to fundamentally nail down is the art of keeping people watching. One of my favorite retention hacks is, put simply, storytelling. So if you wanna watch how to master storytelling for YouTube videos, then you can watch this video next. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.